Hey everybody, so this is the video that I want to make, remembering Landmark Mall.
Hit or miss the last 2 decades. Some seem to do really well, while most really don't. The Landmark Mall was once a monumental destination.
Actually, give me a moment. I need to turn on the AC here real quick because I'm getting hot. Let me just get it going here. Alright, you guys might hear the actual, and then I got my thing charging too. Alright, well it's...
Of stores and ample activity for family and friends, but quickly became a decaying ruin for urban explorers and vandals. Developers and city officials from Alexandria kicked this tin can down the road for nearly 2 decades as the mall rotted from the inside out.
It didn't rot. It's not rotting. It was just being shuttered and closed up. I remember that the way it looked in person though, and I don't know where that video was from exactly. Maybe John Wetmore, I think his name is. I actually met him. Don't know if you guys see. They actually made Wonder Woman there. What the hell? I never seen that movie though. But yeah, the security guard was right about there in his car, and I gave him a jump start. I parked right about here, and I grabbed my jumper pack and I jump started their car for them. Might have been 2015, I think, 2016-ish. No, 2015-ish. Yeah.
Innovative retailers popped up left and right with cheap warehouse with a sales floor type stores with large parking lots to capitalize on this new lifestyle trend. The idea was intended to give customers, mostly homemakers, the ability to go to one store for a quick purchase or make multiple purchases at several stores in one car trip.
Yep.
In 1955, Northern Virginia real estate developer Omer L. Hurst purchased 47 acres of land surrounded by the Shirley Highway and Duke Street interchange. Over the next 2 years, Hurst would fight for rezoning with the city of Alexandria to allow for the land to be used for a large regional shopping center, finally getting approval in 1957. Along with the group of investors, Hearst formed the Alexandria Partnership to finance and manage the new facility, with the Washington Post saying the project, quote, will be the first time on the East Coast that 3 major department stores will locate in one shopping center.
That's a way to do it too.
Alexandria Partnership had gotten executives at Sears Roebuck and Company, Woodward and Lothrop, and the Hecht Company on board, and together...
I remember the Hecht Company. They had one in Appleton, Wisconsin.
Landmark Shopping Center. A common ancestor to both strip malls and enclosed malls was somewhat a hybrid of the two and resembled closer to what we would call today an outlet mall.
Or a town center. Or a town center. Which is going back again. So that's a weird thing, right? So that's a weird thing. They were doing outdoor malls like this, right? Completely outdoors. AKA outlet malls / town center, right? And then they went to indoor malls, right? Now they're going back to outdoor malls / outlet. So why the hell are they doing that? Like, what is the whole purpose of it? Why close down a perfectly good indoor mall where you're not in the weather, you're warm, or you're cool in the summer, right? I mean, why? Like, why do you want to be outside shopping for? I don't get it, you know? Is it to make yourself look good and pompous and everything? I mean, a lot of these rich people are just, like, they're just making things bad for the rest of us. They really are.
Combine them into one shopping experience. In the early mall model, stores would be connected by passageways between them and often had benches, landscaping, and other decor to make the center more attractive and appealing to customers and businesses. The group would hire Abbott, Burnt and Company of New York to serve as the architectural firm for the project. Their design featured an open-air style wall. Concrete benches, planters, and overhangs would give guests an aesthetically pleasing atmosphere and shade on hot summer days. The parking lot would be constructed to allow for 4,000 cars, under the assumption that 400,000 people lived within 20 minutes of the site. The ribbon cutting for the new shopping center was done by Virginia Lieutenant Governor Mills E. Godwin Jr., who was campaigning for governor at the time, and took place on August 4th, 1965.
You guys can hear it.
Stores opened for business. The formal opening of the rest of Landmark Center happened later in October, opening with the 3 anchor stores and approximately 30 other tenants.
Oh, wait a minute. What is that? You gotta take that off there. Okay. Okay. I've actually heard of Casual Corner, Han Shoes. I think they're still around. I think. Don't quote me on that. They might be around. I have to check. Walden Books. Yep, I know about Walden Books. Sears. Yep, Sears Automotive Center. I heard of People's Drug Store. I think there was one in Bethesda. Woodward and Winthrop. They actually had a building on G Street between 13th and 12th, the Woodward and Winthrop building, which would be the Macy's right there in Metro. They call it Metro Center, downtown DC, just a few blocks away from the White House. I've heard of First and Citizen National Bank. I've heard of that somewhere, and I've heard of that. So yeah.
Washington-based Woodward and Lowe occupied a 151,000 square foot store.
Yep.
And Hexco 163,000, with Sears
occupying
the largest store in the mall at 236,000 square feet. Hex and Sears also having an auto service center and a building separate from the main mall structure. Despite only 4,000 spaces, former employees of the mall and surrounding businesses estimated that more than 10,000 cars showed up for the mall's first day.
Heck yeah.
Managers from Sears and Hex said it seemed more like 15,000. The shopping center's opening festivities proved to be an exciting event for the city of Alexandria, and the headline of the newspaper the following day was, quote, "A glad day at Landmark." It was the first major mall in the DMV, and at the time, its only competitors were Parkington, a small shopping center in North Arlington, Virginia, and Seven Corners and Bailey Crossroads, a 45-store, 600,000 square foot building that acted as a predecessor to the modern mall, but had only 2 anchor stores.
I know about that place.
Things at the mall were quite well.
I used to work at CC's Pizzas right down the road, Leesburg Pike area. And Columbia Pike. It was more like Route 7 and Jefferson Street at that shopping center there where the Burlington and Giant is at.
Architects began emulating its design, copying its mansard roof on the Iverson Mall, with both this feature and Hex 8-foot fascia being replicated in Tyson's Corner. By the 1980s,
What?
Landmark now had no fewer than 6 major competitors, and many attempted to get an edge by renovating
Tyson's Corner, yep.
their existing structures or chasing after the growing.
Oh, you know what? I'll throw in there. If you go to Tyson's Corner, right? Is it the? It's not Macy's. It's the other one. Nordstrom, right? If you go where Nordstrom is on first and second levels, right at the entrance area, you'll go down the corridor that's for restrooms, right? I believe second floor is where they had the Fairfax County Visitor Center or something like that. And then you got that hallway right there. Well, if you go down that hallway, of course you got the bathrooms and stuff. But if you go down where the elevators are at, right? And you can take the elevator, like wherever, right? But if you look down the hallway further down, you'll see the actual mall offices, right? And you'll still see that they look like a 1970s design to this very day. Like they haven't changed the actual look of it. The material, the wall, the wording, things like that. I believe so. I'll have to do a video on that, or take a picture and post it to my Facebook. But yeah, that's really cool that they haven't changed that at the Tyson's Corner Mall. So.
Enclosed, mega shopping malls, some as large as 4 stories tall. Fortunately for the patrons of Landmark Center, major renovations hadn't yet occurred.
I've heard of SeaTac.
Dated, but thankfully was spared of the mustard stain that was 1970s design. Unfortunately, however, in March 1982,
Okay, let's look at this list here again, because it's a bigger list now. So I'm going to zoom in here, and let's see what they got. Let's see if I recognize it. Oh, 1980. Okay, cool. All right, Yogurt Garden. No, I never heard of them. I've heard of the Land's Castle. I've heard of that. That might have been years ago, though. I think we had one. Oh, Land's Castle. I think that was a that was an arcade, wasn't it? I believe so. Yeah, I think it was. Baker's Shoes. I think I've heard of them. Yep, Casual Corner. I still heard of them. All right. Oh, they had a pet shop. Cool. Winthrop Jewelers. I may have heard of them. Walden. Yep.
a fire caused by a chemical reaction from floor sealant damaged about a dozen stores. Thankfully, no one was injured, and the incident was seen as only a minor inconvenience. It was around this point that the center's developers, the Alexandria Partnership, were faced with renovating the only 20-year-old yet dating mall themselves, further tying them to a long-term interest in the property, or moving on and letting someone else implement their own vision for Landmark's future. And the group opted for the latter, as in 1984 it was sold to an Australian investment firm called the International Investment Property Company. They had been purchasing older malls across the eastern U.S. and had success renovating them to match consumer trends.
Wait a minute, is it that one mall that's Westfield Wheaton? That looks like Westfield Wheaton right there. See if they continue it.
The
Nope.
group came running out of the gate with plans to demolish the single-story structure and build a 3-story enclosed
I'll have to go back. Okay, let me...
ladder. As
Hang
in
on.
1984, it was sold to an Australian investment firm called the International Investment Property Company. They had been purchasing older malls across the eastern U.S. and had success.
Okay, there we go. This may be Westfield Wheaton. I don't know. Let me zoom in here. Okay, got Lens Crafters. Yeah, that's Westfield Wheaton. What the heck? Why are they showing Westfield Wheaton here? Yeah, that's definitely Westfield Wheaton because the T-Mobile store has 2 entrances. You can go in that way, and out there would be an entrance in that section right there. You see it? That section right there? So T-Mobile store has 2 entrances. And Target would be towards me. They have a Target store. It'd be towards me. And if down one of these hallways, you make a right, you go down the hallway, and Costco would be down there also. Okay? So that's how that works. But yeah, this is Westfield Wheaton right here. This is one of the hallways. It's the person taking the photo was facing away from Target. Their back was towards Target, and the food court would be straight down that way to your left. And they have like a Taco Bell, I believe. I forgot the other names of the store, but they did a renovation of the food court. You used to be able to charge your cell phone at a wall, and they had plugs, and got rid of all that. It really pissed me off. But yeah, this is Wheaton Mall. I can recognize things like this. Like I can see it for at least 1 to 2 seconds, and I'll kind of have an idea. And if I have to pause it, I will, and I can automatically recognize it. It's just I have a good photographic memory, so.
Innovating them to match consumer trends. Immediately, running out of the gate with plans to demolish the single-story structure and build a 3-story enclosed mall on the same site, leaving
Yep.
the anchor stores untouched.
All right, so looking at this position, I don't know. I did a live video and I walked on this ramp right here. I walked that ramp, walked down. My van was parked, right in that area right there, and John Wetsmore was doing the video right about there, because I had saw him with a camera, and I instantly recognized it was some of my YouTubers, so that's what made me pull over and back into a little spot, and then go up and talk to him real quick, you know. So I don't know, maybe in the video like that he was taking there, maybe my voice might be in it. You never know, right? So that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I did a live video walking around on my now taken down channel, which really sucks, you know. But yeah.
At the end of 1986, all the specialty stores were ordered to temporarily shutter in anticipation of the radical transformation of Landmark Center. Groundbreaking for the new mall structure was held on January 23, 1988, and 2 weeks later, demolition began. It was one of the most ambitious construction projects the area had ever seen, and the estimated budget for completion was over $140 million.
Wow.
The project was done in 2 phases. Phase 1, which began in August of 1989, built an entirely new court to the mall, lifting it up from paper pathways and courtyards to a 3-story Great Hall that could now house 40 different stores. Phase 2 involved expanding around the existing anchors to enlarge the shopping footprint, adding 300,000 square feet of enclosed retail space. This project tripled the facility's offerings, including the addition of a food court on the top floor.
Yep.
The parking garage was constructed behind the new building to house the now thousands of additional cars that would visit on a daily basis. And the mall was given a dedicated ramp to take shoppers directly from the parkway to the new garage and mall entrance. Just 2 months before reopening,
I actually been on that ramp once.
Prime Property Inc. out of Delaware, but in August 1990, the transformation from local outdoor shopping center to destination enclosed shopping mall was complete.
That was so much better back then.
The newly renamed Landmark Mall was held on August 16, 1990.
And how did he get that Google Street View photo of them? Because if you look at it now, it doesn't look like that. I know it don't.
Outdoor courtyards and walkways have become indoor plazas and hallways lit by skylights. Light colors and large open spaces gave it an inviting going there an even more unique shopping event. Managers celebrated reopening with 3 days of special events and shopping promotions, with live performances over the course of the first week adding to the celebration.
Nice.
Design and amenities created a moment of retail in the DMV that once relinquished, the area was never going to see again, and the same can be said for its rivals. At this point, the most direct competitor was the much larger Springfield Mall, located only 5 miles away.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was 5 miles away. Oh. Yeah, I have to go visit Springfield Mall again.
It housed 1.7 million square feet of retail space, almost 2 times the size of its neighbor. Compared to Landmark, Springfield also had more relevant anchors and more of them, as JCPenney, Landsberg's...
Yeah, JCPenney's gone. Yeah, they're all gone.
With the failed retailers later being replaced by EJ Corvette, Sports
Authority gone too. Macy's Target might be there.
During the peak of said attraction in the 1980s, excelling so
They
much
did have a timeout.
was the second highest performing franchise for the brand during the decade. As if Springfield didn't have everything going for it during peak mall years, Prince Charles and Princess Diana would visit the JCPenney on November 11, 1985 to see the Best of Britain promotion at the department store, as it was their first trip to the United States as a married couple. In the following decade,
I don't like that Prince Charles fucker.
Rapidly,
He's
becoming rampant.
a piece of shit.
And it didn't help that it had more than one connection to the event of 2001, as 2 of the hijackers illegally obtained state identification at the mall's DMV branch. Later, operated by Tornado Realty Trust, who backed out of their lease agreement on the World Trade Center with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey only months before the events of 2001. The rest of the 2000s will be dominated by gang violence, carjackings, and other criminal activity that led many to ditch the mall in favor of Landmark and its other competitors. However, a much more severe threat was looming as starting in the late 1980s and early 1990s, Walmart and Target began swallowing up brick-and-mortar retail demand as consumers slowly chose local, lower-priced power centers and strip malls over higher-priced regional shopping centers and enclosed
I miss those old Walmart commercials and the Target ones too. Those were the best days.
In the retail industry. Big box stores were
Those were the best days ever back then. You know, when everything was just the way it was then. Nowadays, everything sucks.
The uniqueness and scale of places like Landmark Mall and the like were becoming more of a burden than an asset, as huge collections of separate stores were no longer needed to deliver the same shopping experience. At the same time, the internet was slowly on the rise, with major online retailer Amazon going public in 1997, and
Yeah.
began to further erode foot traffic and sales for specialty stores before clashing directly with the big box store model. Looking at the impending decline of Landmark.
Oh, Ames. Oh my God. I think I seen one as a kid somewhere. Long time ago. Long ago.
Was Woodward and Lothrop, the whole company going out of business in 1995, with its location in the mall being one of the last to close. J.C. Penney then moved in and replaced the bankrupt retailer. They, however, also found themselves struggling against the rise of rival clothing retailers like Kohl's, and more
Kohl's is going strong. Kohl's is still going strong, which really sucks. But yeah, JCPenney was way overpriced. They were way overpriced. I remember my. Oh yeah, they were the last ones to go out of the White Flint Mall there, and they're finally closed.
In the millennium's last decade, Landmark would change owners once again with the intention of redevelopment, as Chicago-based General Growth Properties, who at the time was the second largest smallholder in the U.S.
Didn't General Growth? I think General Growth owned Fox River Mall in Grand Chute, Wisconsin, I believe. I do not like this concept. Absolutely hate it. Can't stand that. You got so many rich, pompous pricks living in places like that and shopping there that don't care about the rest of us. Screw them.
Of operating the site as an enclosed mall. The plan involved removal of most of Landmark Mall and construction of Landmark Village. New streets and walkways would link rows of shops and cafes with
No. It's going to be a hospital or something now, but yeah.
1,500 apartments, and cars would be hidden in an underground parking garage. This was exciting and encouraging the locals, even as it seemed the bright, airy indoor shopping mall was seeking to become a reinvented version of its former self, returning to an outdoor shopping center. However, evidence that this was really going to happen quickly became hard to find. In 2005, the May Company, who owned Hecht's department stores, merged with Federated Department Stores, who owned Macy's.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was the Macy's.
The combined company debated whether
That became Macy's because you saw the facade in the, yeah. Yeah, because that black and white photo of the facade was definitely Macy's. I did a live video and I was able to get it walking on the bridge, going around, and the bus stop was close to there too. And now the bus stop probably is gone by now, I would assume.
Regardless, managers of the mall claimed that the new Macy's became and remained the mall's highest performing store. By the Great Recession of the late 2000s, malls were on borrowed time and had already dropped immensely in value and profitability. The catastrophic economic crisis just beat the life.
Dillard's closed? What the? That's.
Beginning of the recession, Landmark's owners, who had
Wow. I knew someone that worked at a Dillard's in Colorado, like in southern part of downtown, the southern part of Denver. I forgot the name of the mall. What's the name of that mall? I forgot what it was. I'll have to look on Google Maps. TC Satellite Cam. What is that?
recession, Lord & Taylor, the anchor store that replaced Woody's and JCPenney's, officially announced that it was closing its location in the Landmark Mall, never to be filled again. As Landmark's owner, General Growth Properties filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on April 16, 2009, with headlines calling it the biggest real estate failure in U.S. history. In restructuring their debt, GGP put many of its malls on the market, including all of their holdings in Las Vegas. The half-industry decline, half-self-sabotage...
Oh, that's why...
would be one of the dozens of
So I wonder who owns the Fox River Mall now.
Rather quickly, the Howard Hughes Corporation swooped in, purchasing the mall, with plans to carry out their version of GTP's vision. They stated on their website that Landmark had, quote, potential to be developed into a dynamic destination for shopping, dining, working, entertainment, and living. Flipping something as large as a mall takes time, and the Howard Hughes Corporation continued to operate Landmark while plans and details were worked out. It's important to note that the typical arrangement at most malls is that anchor stores own their own space and were entirely separate entities from the mall owners themselves. So the Howard Hughes Corporation, just as with GTP and the owners before them, was having to negotiate with Sears and Macy's directly to create a joint proposal, adding another complexity to progress, which is why most of the time, malls just fold, demolishing the main structure, ignoring the anchor stores, as it was a simpler solution than trying to come to an agreement that made everyone happy.
Wait, what?
Benefits was being located in a highly affluent and high-populated area just outside of D.C., only a mile or so from the nearest metro station. The area was also extremely well-traveled, as parkways and Interstate 395 fully engulfed the structure. But as consumer preferences changed, none of this seemed to matter. Landmark opened the second decade of the new millennium with vacancy near 3 times the national average. Its countless competitors began falling one by one.
I remember that area. I remember the food court.
Kicking off a string of mall demolitions in the DMV in 2006. Without plans for replacing it, the mall was reduced to a crater of retail in the earth, acting as a physical reminder of how impactful the decline of this era truly was. In July 2012, Vornado Realty Trust enacted their decade-old plan to transform the rival Springfield Mall into Springfield Town Center, with similar amenities to what was being proposed at Landmark. It reopened 2 years later, having realized the vision others had only promised, and reactions were overwhelmingly positive. Dragging their feet behind Vornado, the Howard Hughes Corporation finally got their act together and submitted a proposal to the city of Alexandria for redevelopment, this time calling for a slightly smaller project than GGP had suggested, limiting to 250,000 square feet of retail space and only 400 or so apartments, with green spaces, casual dining amenities, and a 10-screen luxury cinema. The city moved quickly to approve their plans, and the fate of the mall now sat entirely in the hands of the Howard Hughes Corporation. Once again, the mall sat barely operating while details continued to be figured out. Doors remained open, but only a handful of tenants remained. In the meantime, the immense parking garage would be leased out to car dealerships to store excess inventory, and the nearly always empty parking lot hosted traveling carnival shows. It was around this time that following and documenting dead malls had become a trend on social media, with countless videos surfacing about Landmark's sterile and liminal state. On January 4th, 2017, Macy's announced that they would be closing their store in the Landmark Mall, but this time, the Howard Hughes Corporation bought the space from the retailer, and instead of leaving it vacant, the former department store was leased free of charge to a nonprofit homeless shelter. Months later, remaining tenants, except Sears, were told to vacate the property within 30 days, leading many to think redevelopment was imminent. Yet another year went by, and
you guys just saw that, right? I didn't really know. That shelter was pretty recent too, and I didn't really know about it until after the fact, until this all came to light. And I was like, oh man, they should have kept the shelter up, at least. I mean, people need somewhere to live, and it just makes me really pissed off that they would tell them to vacate. They ain't right. I mean, shelter's hard to find in in like Arlington and Fairfax counties. Very hard to get fined.
And at this point, Sears, who was the last open store at the Landmark Mall, had rolled their real estate holdings into Seritage Growth Properties, and the HHC announced that the two parties were in complete agreement on moving forward with redeveloping the entire 51-acre property, and things began to look up. However, just months after the announcement, the Howard Hughes Corporation began an internal corporate overhaul. The company then announced it was selling many assets in its development portfolio. Landmark Mall wasn't on the list of properties for sale.
Screw them.
The executives tasked with its redevelopment.
Screw them.
And once again,
Rich pompous
plans to replace the now
pieces of
decaying
crap.
mall evaporated. While its future remained uncertain, in the summer of 2018, Warner Brothers leased the near entirely vacant mall property for their film, Wonder Woman 1984. Somewhat ironic, filmmakers decorated the dubbed Southfields Mall with 1980 styling to match the time period for the movie. This being ironic as the mall wasn't enclosed until 1990, and for anyone who knows anything about mall architecture, that discrepancy appears to be obvious. Scenes were shot in the escalator hall in the center of the building and exteriors, avoiding sections of the mall whose vacant stores had long since been walled off. The film was supposed to be released in June 2019, but production delays pushed that back into sometime in 2020. It wound up being released in theaters and HBO Max on Christmas of that year, with the pandemic impacting its sales at the box office and plans for release.
Scamdemic.
Reaction was lukewarm, with the film sitting at a 58% rating on Rotten Tomatoes in 2022. Also in early 2020.
Now that is cool. To see them do that, I mean, wow, that was cool. I'm glad a production company was able to have the movie made there. If I would have known about the movie being made there, I would have tried to like see if I could become like an extra or like a paid extra, but I didn't know about the movie then. I had no idea. I've been living here for years now and I had no idea that none of this stuff has been going on.
Permits had yet to be filed to move forward with the Howard Hughes Corporation's now 8-year-old proposal for the 55-year-old mall property, and with the exception of Sears, the rest of the structure sat decaying away, with Sears doors to the interior sealed off from Landmark's rotting internal flesh. Then in March, the world, and specifically the industries of hospitality and retail, were put on the fringe as entire global economies were shut down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Non-essential businesses were forced to close, and almost all retail foot traffic worldwide was eliminated. If there was any,
that's the whole reason why they created it. Was to screw us over.
COVID-19 fully extinguished it. Mayor of Alexandria Justin Wilson stated in April 2020 that discussions had continued about the property's future between the city and the Howard Hughes Corporation, but said the company was still restructuring and not pursuing projects at that time. On July 1st, faced with a long drawn-out demise intensified by a global economic shutdown, Sears announced they would be closing an additional 28 stores, including their location in the Landmark Mall. The store liquidated all of its merchandise and store fixtures soon after the announcement, and the final guests and customers of the mall's last original and overall attraction, who had helped develop the mall in the 1960s, walked out for the final time, and the Landmark Mall was now completely vacant and entirely abandoned. On December 22, 2020, seemingly out of nowhere, the city of Alexandria announced that they would purchase a portion of the property and lease it to Inova Health System, a nonprofit hospital that serves Northern Virginia. They would replace one of their out-of-date hospitals in the area with a new state-of-the-art facility, creating 2,000 jobs.
Stupid.
$4 million in public bonds would
it's
be
because
to assist in the new hospital's
because the fucker has a stake in it. That's why.
$6 million in public bonds being issued. The hospital would break ground in 2023 and an estimated opening date in partnership with the City of Alexandria, Innova Health System, the Howard Hughes Corporation, Seritage Growth Properties, and Valker Pratt, another development firm with historic ties to the property. The latter three were now teaming up to bring the Howard Hughes Corporation's original proposal to reality, albeit at a slightly smaller scale, with the project now being referred to as West End Alexandria.
Stupid.
While a website dedicated to the project exists, only ambiguous depictions of how the property will be developed are shown, but promises 4 million square feet of mixed-use development. Other sources say that 2,500 affordable housing units, a fire station, and a transit hub will be part of the new project, with the mall's gargantuan parking garage being the only structure reused. A vague construction schedule shown on the website shows a similar timeline to the hospital and includes time allotted for the permitting process. While rightfully skeptical, the announcement was well received by locals, as the mall that never lived up to what it was supposed to and multi-decade eyesore would finally be erased and a new development would be given a chance at life.
No, they should have kept the mall. They should have kept it alive. That really makes me mad, though, that they got rid of it. I was only there a few times, and that was it. Like 3 times. Yep.
On top of the main entrance, with leveling of the structure starting in the following weeks. The Proper People YouTube channel visited the site only days before scheduled demolition began, offering one last look inside before saying goodbye forever. With Labrice TV,
And if I had known,
just days after raising started, it was truly a sight to behold. It's one thing to see a house be torn down,
and if I had known about that, I would have went there. Yep. That's the bus stop I was telling you about.
Looked like a toy on a train set. Rumbles of the collapsing building and screeches of steel and sheet metal rattled the entire site. The parking lot that once housed thousands of cars now became a sorting area for concrete and other materials, with massive beams being bent around like spaghetti. Demolition was scheduled to last 6 months. At its end, the parking garage would be the only structure left standing, and therefore, the last evidence at Landmark Mall ever.
I need to get in that parking garage and check it out.
This mall was a really stressful story.
I need to get in there and check it out.
Guests made great use of the site in the 60s, 70s, and 80s in peak mall days. By the time it was rebuilt into a large enclosed mall, those days had already passed. Talks of redevelopment started almost immediately and took more than 3 decades to meet reality. Landmark's story, however, isn't any different than what's occurred across the country. Some, like Landover Mall, are just demolished and parking lots are left to rot. Others turn the page to the next chapter of retail. I think it would have been cool if the developers kept the Landmark name in the new project, as we could have thought of it as just the next iteration of Landmark Mall. But with the 2-decade reputation of being an eyesore, not hard to understand why they passed. At one point in its history, though, this was the largest development and one of the biggest things to ever happen to Alexandria. And just like other places we cover on this channel, there's a segment of people who have fond memories of going to the mall.
Yep.
Of time spent together with people they love or enjoyed being with. And
Yep.
in some cases, with people who may not be around anymore. While collectively, it's hard to see the value of Landmark's story, for some,
I like what he said there.
they're going to tell.
That's what's more important, everybody, is that you associate the memories of the people that you love and that you are friends with, that your family, things like that, right? You associate those memories with going to places like this on a day. You say, hey, let's all go to the Landmark Mall and let's look around, let's shop, let's eat, You have fun together. I mean, that's what matters the most, right there. And with this being torn down, that it's gonna spark those memories in people. It's gonna make them reminisce about the good old times and everything. But it's also gonna make them feel sad because those memories are long and gone. I mean, I got a couple memories of being there. I helped the security guard jumpstart his car. I walked around and checked it out. I wish I could have. I wish I could have, been there days before they demolished it with proper people or something. I wouldn't. On honestly, I wanted to collect a lot of the stuff that was left behind. I mean, it's not like they're gonna care if I bring it home here, But yeah, I just didn't know about this. But at the time, I really stopped watching the news around summer of 2020. I just really did. I stopped watching the news. I didn't want to hear about the whole C-19 thing and stuff. I just wanted to. I still don't want to hear about it, to be honest. So that's why I just don't watch the news anymore. But yeah, if I had paid attention to the news, I probably would have been able to get over there and check it out, depending on what have enough money for gas and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna get out this thing. Just wanted to show you guys. So, all right, take care and have a great day.